So, not saying this is good or anything, but I still do find it interesting. And I wanted to show it off nonetheless, as kind of my final trade video probably for this league. Unless I somehow improve this build even more. So that's basically my league project. And it is a Saboteur, it is Seismic Trap, but it's also Wave of Conviction of Trarthus. And it's crit, and it's Impale. So it's not a poison variant. That was basically the whole reason I went trade, other than actually trying trade. That was also kind of definitely a reason, trying the new trade thing. But the main idea was to try this build here. Because I could never do this in SSF or anything, and especially not in hardcore, because it kind of dies sometimes. But yeah, it's funny. I really kind of like this. This is roughly how this plays. This is a rather easy T16, and it kind of clears. Damage is okay, even though it got a lot of buttons. It's kind of a PoE2 build, I feel like. Right? You have your Seismic Trap that actually deals damage. The Trarthus thing kind of looks funny, but it doesn't really do all that much. It clears like white mobs, basically. That's roughly what it does, right? But it's mostly that, and apparently I'm leaving stragglers here. You also have Siphoning Trap for like huge region, Assassin's Mark happening, some Righteous Fire as well. Let's go for the boss, which is, since it's like an easy boss, or like a map boss, obviously it kills a map boss, right? So that's not a big part. Even that isn't that big. But yeah, this is roughly how this looks. This is roughly what this is. As said, it is a Wave of Conviction of Trarthus kind of thing. You know, it makes these funny rings here, especially if you get a lot of them. They still kind of all spawn. I'm not entirely sure how many actually deal damage, because technically only one can exist. Not sure how that works with traps. And then we obviously have Seismic Trap and Siphoning Trap. But yeah, that's roughly the gameplay. And let's talk about the ideas essentially behind this build. Obviously didn't come up with that. I found somebody on PoE Ninja from last league doing it. Not entirely sure what he did with his mercenary. That was probably helpful. It's more of a concept. As said, I do not believe that this is very good at all. I still find it interesting though. I was expecting it to deal a little bit more damage, honestly. It still can do 2 to 3 times as much damage as it does right now, which is right now maybe 3 million. If at all, more in a good scenario with just the seismics. I'm sure it can go over that, more towards like 10 million. And then obviously with traps, everything is kind of weird. So if all the stars align and you swap the crit damage for conk effect and you get a bear trap in it and everything, then probably in 4 seismic bursts goes up to, I don't know, couple tens of millions of damage, so it's kind of fine. But that wasn't really the point of it anyway. So how does this work? Offensively, as said, it is a physical spell crit impaler using these gloves here. Some of the gear is quite expensive, by the way. Like there's no starter in it, and the amount of currency that is in this build it's not very efficient. It's just interesting to me. So yeah, you have entropic devastation. That basically means your spells inflict impale. So you basically have impale if your spells crit, and then you get some impale effect with that. Then we use Sandstorm Visage to get the crit from the wand, essentially. So yeah, the spells are based on the wand crit. We get a wand like this, which could be a million times better, but it's a basic crit wand with +1 fizz. Obviously stacking spell, skill, physical gem levels to do this. But yeah, you get like this base crit there from the weapon, which is pretty high. Overall, I would believe that this right now, without the Assassin's Mark, probably only has like 50% crit, maybe 60 or something like that. With that, it goes higher to like 80, roughly. So if you could improve on that with like jewels or whatever, would already be way better. But yeah, Impale with your crits, get crit from your weapon, have a weapon with crit is essentially the offensive package here. Other than that, it's just, yeah, there's like obviously Seismic Trap, has some brutality, even an Awakened Gem already, some advanced traps because, you know, cooldowns and shit. Increased crit, could swap that for Conk Effect for bosses in theory, charge traps for the mainly for the supporter skills have 10% increased trap throwing speed per frenzy charge. The generation of the frenzies is on the Trarthus gem that you can spam all the time. And then some chop and mine damage is kind of the idea right now. So that's like the 6 link. On the Trarthus thing, we have the Wave of Conviction. You can also, by the way, just play this with Bladefall instead of the Wave of Conviction, but I feel like the Wave of Conviction is way cooler. So why would you use Bladefall? I don't know. Swift Assembly, trap support, and some charge traps to generate the charges essentially, which is the entire idea here. So yeah, that's the offensive package plus Righteous Fire, obviously. The defensive part, I find I really like this defenses, honestly. So the idea is you get basically that's not it. It's put it another way. You have this shield here which says 40% of fizz and fire is taken as lightning, and then you have a Watcher's Eye with another at least 10%. In this case it's 11, but 10 would probably be perfectly fine, of fire and cold taken as lightning. So you have 50% of fire and cold taken as lightning already. So that's gone. And then you also have Divine Flash. It's achieved with a Glorious Vanity. This one also gives me a little bit of spell suppression. So that one was was like 20C, was really good. So yeah, this Divine Flash here gives you 50%. That's the other 50% of elemental damage taken as chaos damage. So that means you take no fire damage and no cold damage, because 50% is going to be lightning and the other 50% is actually going to be chaos damage. So that means you can have you don't need fire and cold resistance, you just need lightning resistance, and then with this flask here on top of it, you can convert all of that to have 87% max res here on the lightning, so you don't need to care about that. But also that's that. And then you have Doppelgangers, guys. That says you have 39% less physical and chaos damage taken while sane. Just never pressing the insane button. And there's also a 10% regen on it. So this is like this package essentially. I do have a Tides of Time to get uptime on the flask, especially the Topaz one is very important here in this case, which is not 100% outside of killing anything. So during mapping it's definitely up all the time. That's not a big deal. So we have that, and that's basically the entire defensive setup behind this idea. The rings are super simple. It's just chaos and lightning res, here as well. They're pretty much identical almost. The Dragonfang is for Seismic Trap gems, which are very cheap right now, and also reservation efficiency. And obviously on top of the defense thing, we have Petrified Blood, right? So that means that 40% of the life loss is prevented here. Overall, it doesn't really have that much life, so you can still definitely die to stuff. But I like this setup of like converting 50% of fire and cold and the other 50% to chaos. So you have like this interesting setup here. I don't know. I'm just really a big fan. I don't have implicits on this yet. But it's just some spell suppression. If this would be 14%, right? If you get 14% boots, then this would be 100%. But also there's also this flask. So during mapping, it doesn't really matter. We are overcapped anyway. But it just turned on because of the Tide of Times. But yeah, there's technically 2% missing. You could guarantee that by having 14% here, plus the 2 suppression nodes here if you get a Glorious Vanity. with this whole thing. So yeah, this is the basic setup. The character itself doesn't even have the 4th lab yet. I just wanted to get this out as a concept, obviously. Other than that, on the tree, there's nothing all that special. Obviously, there's this thread of hope here. I can also take this one here. With a little bit more level, it's only 88 right now. And also think about a cluster. You could get not a hand hunter, a mage blood, and entirely dropped all this flask nonsense here. So you could get a cluster or two. That would be nice. But this thread of hope is just really good. I feel like it has so many nodes in it, right? Like you get the 10% trigger again. You have crit stuff here. You have trap stuff here. Some life here. And entropy for skill effect duration. Like the seismic trap duration is really long. It's like 6 seconds right now. And I've seen people take in last league a impossible escape towards this one here, and then taking these nodes here on top of it, on top of the more skill effect duration here. So that's kind of neat to get a little bit more of that. But other than that, the tree is pretty normal. The jewels are kind of bad. Like I kind of need the 2% mana reservation here because it's really tight. You need 2% somewhere to have all the auras, and there's like a lot of auras. Like if you look at this, like there's obviously Purity of Lightning and yeah, a bunch of other auras happening. And some on the life, obviously. But yeah, the other jewels, I think there's even one missing here right now. I think that's pretty much it with jewels, right? Yeah, that should be all of them. So yeah, they could be improved. A lot of things could be improved about this. Character here. I just wanted to show off this character. I wanted to show off this concept before I basically leave trade behind. And gonna play some hardcore SSF. I'm probably gonna revisit this character over the league at some point, but I don't know when. And I didn't want to miss the opportunity to share this, so somebody can maybe do something with it and maybe is smarter than me. So far, I like the character. It is not tanky enough. Really, it still can die, so it would need a little bit more investment there in region and everything, and like kind of bigger hits. Like it would die to a Shaper Slam, for example, like a normal Shaper Slam. So this is kind of not ideal. I was also thinking about taking the new Ascendancy, the Breach one. If you take the Breach one and then you get these grafts here, the correct one, you could take 15% less lightning damage and 15% less physical damage, which would be really helpful. I think that would be really nice. And the issue is you would need to not take another node. Like this one is great, obviously, for the cooldown stuff. Even though your traps are like, do they really need cooldown stuff? They feel very responsive already. Maybe for bossing, it's technically more DPS, I guess. And the other one obviously would be this one here. The 30% chance to deal 50% more area damage is great, especially for the impaling thing. So I feel like that's a really good idea. So it's kind of hard pressed to actually take the new Ascendancy. This alternate one, Bloodline, I think it's called. But yeah, would be the Breach one, I think would be interesting to lean even more into this. We only take lightning, physical, and chaos damage thing, and especially the 15% less physical damage would be interesting. More interesting, actually, than the lightning one, I think. But you can get both. Like, we have 2 grafts, and the other ones on that tree, like, they don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you take less cold or fire damage or something like that. So yeah, that's basically it, honestly. I posted the current POB. If you want to play around with that, make your own assumptions. Maybe somebody's interested in playing something similar. As said, I find it kind of interesting, and I'm gonna leave you with another map. Oh, this one has Reflect, which doesn't really matter, right? Does it matter? I don't know. Let's just take a random map here again. Look a little bit at the gameplay. Like, I like how it feels outside of it. It would be nice if it would deal like double damage at least, which is, I feel like, is very achievable. Do I actually die to physical with the shield charge? I do not. Okay, perfect. That would be great. Like, roughly double damage would actually already be enough, I feel like, for this to feel okay as a mapper and to kill normal bosses in a reasonable way. But I'm a little bit more worried about significantly more consistent survivability, right? And I'm not entirely sure what's exactly missing, what exactly is killing me. It's probably not elemental damage, even though the life pool is just very small, even with petrified blood, I feel like. Like, in most scenarios, you can just walk around and walk in between stuff, as long as you're throwing traps and you're using the siphoning traps. So this is like very much a PoE2 build, right? Like I'm throwing the Trarthus thing, and then when I see blue or yellow, I throw a seismic, and then I put siphoning if I feel like I will stand in this pack for a while. And then you can even curse. So like, this is how PoE2 should be, like very fluid. You just walk around and you're pressing your buttons depending on what's on your screen, actually. So I don't know, I kind of like it. And in most cases, it feels incredibly tanky. Because you're not really getting hit, and if you do, you have this whatever the claws are called again, petrified blood thing. Like, I'm not against it. It's a cool concept. I kind of like it. Like, you have scenarios like this, it can get really spicy because you get like hit too much, I guess. Maybe just a ton more evasion would already be also fine. Which is hard to get. Like, if you look at all this gear, there's like so many uniques on it already. But yeah. And depending on what you hit with this low damage, like if there's like a more tanky monster, like an energy shield recharging regen monster, then with this level of damage, you might not even kill it. That's why I said, like, roughly double damage would be nice. Like, there's a shaman here, we can also curse him. And just throw all the small traps. Like, this takes a while. If you imagine it with double damage, is this fine? Probably. Is this okay? I don't know. It feels good. Not trying to say it is good, or obviously, compared to other options that are a million times cheaper. Like my actual League starter, for example. Like, this is such a downgrade to that. But it's Seismic Trap, and I don't know, I kind of like it. I kind of like it for the most part. Anyway, I leave you to POB. Maybe somebody, as said, is smarter than me. Oh, by the way, the Scarp has a +2 as well. Like, all of this gear is already, in some areas, quite expensive for what you get. So be warned. Do not play this unless you're really, really interested in it and do your own POB work. Maybe figure out something with the grafts. I'm gonna go play hardcore SSF for a while, and in case I ever come back to this character, I'll let you know. In case I can actually improve it. If you give it a shot and you figure out how to make it better, please get in touch and tell me, because I'm super interested in are there versions of this? Are there way cheaper versions of this maybe? Can this be made really, really good without breaking like mirrors? Like, I'm okay if this costs like 200 divines to make it great. But yeah, I'm kind of not in the mood right now to yeah, explore this further at the moment. Maybe later. Cool. Anyway, bye.